So these predictive analytics algorithms, if you will, they can provide you with recommendations on how best to manage the production itself. But you can go a step further and create a closed loop self-optimizing system where you can then kind of derive the optimal set points from the predictive analytics and send them back into the production so that they actually are automating the production itself, and in doing so, optimizing it as well.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Antarctica Interview Series. I'm your host, Anshdeep Kaur, and we're really glad to have you join us today. Today, we have Philip Popov, digital expert and Industry 4.0 thought leader on the show. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here.
So before we move ahead, let me just brief you a bit about the Antarctica Interview Series. The Antarctica Interview Series is a powerhouse of insights from industry experts and influencers from around the world, a platform that provides the latest news on AI, automation, and technologies that will help you grow your business. Come be a part of our community and learn, share, and grow with us. So, Philip, I have a couple of questions for you. How can Industry 4.0 help manufacturing companies improve their supply chain management and reduce lead time?
Okay, absolutely. Well, that's actually quite a loaded question because there's multiple ways Industry 4.0 can help with the improvement of optimization of the supply chain and in decreasing lead time. One of the ways that we focus on is helping with the manufacturing process itself, optimizing that, and we can do that in multiple ways, either by increasing uptime or rather decreasing downtime of the assets, to increasing the yield of the production, energy efficiency, and the quality of the products by creating some predictive analytics, and particularly when we're talking about products that have a long lead time, right? You want to, if they're having some defects, for example, you want to remove them from that production as soon as possible, detect that defect. If you can, try to avoid it, and if you cannot, address it as soon as possible before it comes out at the other end with a defect, and then you have to redo it all, increasing the lead time, increasing the cost of production, energy, and so on and so forth. So really, one huge way that one can improve the supply chain is focusing on the manufacturing end of things, where they can optimize using the existing technology right now, which is fueled by the data coming from the production process itself, and then has an additional layer of intelligence in the form of artificial intelligence and machine learning technologies that can help optimize that.
Right. So what are some key challenges in implementing digitalization in traditional manufacturing processes, and how can we address those?
Sure. So there's a human element, and then there's I suppose a hardware technical element to it. Starting from the technical element, the challenges are, of course, the level of digital maturity that the factory is at, meaning where they are in terms of interconnectedness of their assets, or Internet of Things, if you will, and where they are in terms of consuming and utilizing, leveraging their data. Depending on where they are on that kind of scale, you are encountering different types of challenges along the way. Obviously, those can be overcome by a step-by-step process for someone to enter Industry 4.0 in terms, or rather create a good foundation for Industry 4.0 technology. They need to connect all their assets together. They need to collect the data and have a way to visualize it. And that's at that point, when we can start actually doing something valuable with it. And the human element, of course, is motivation. There is to kind of launch these kinds of projects and launch them effectively, one needs to know one needs to have the motivation to change, to improve, to invest in order to actually have the return on that. and kind of an extension of that is not only motivation, because blind motivation can lead to some bad investments. It's also very important to know one's why they're doing it, what is the goal, what is the scope, and then work towards that.
Right, that's interesting. So how can predictive analytics and machine learning be used in the context of Industry 4.0 to optimize production and reduce downtime as well?
Right, it's a very good question, because I've actually mentioned that earlier, that's one of the ways, and one of the most powerful ways in which we can help optimize the production in Industry 4.0. The way that they're helping is actually, there's multiple levels to that as well. The easiest way and the most obvious way is that we can use predictive analytics to, first of all, discover some insights in the production itself that are not readily available to people working there, regardless of their expertise and regardless of their background and experience. And we can predict certain outcomes ahead of time using that insights and that data. We can do that with higher accuracy and speed than we have been able to do insofar for using simply experience of our personnel. And by doing that, we can obviously plan ahead and make better decisions. Really, what is a change? It's a change from experience and intuition-based decision-making to data-driven decision-making. So having your assets and your production process tell you what is the best way to actually optimize it. That's what we will refer to as these predictive analytics algorithms, if you will. They can provide you with recommendations on how best to manage the production itself. But you can go a step further and create a closed loop self-optimizing system where you can then kind of derive the optimal set points from the predictive analytics and send them back into the production so that they actually are automating the production itself, and in doing so, optimizing it as well.
Right. So how can Industry 4.0 be used to improve sustainability and also reduce the environmental impact of manufacturing processes?
Sure. Well, multiple ways. One of the ways that we're doing that, obviously, sustainability would mean doing the same or more with less resources, using less resources, as well as creating less waste and less scrap. So one of the ways that the technology can help is with, say, optimization of the use of energy, or the optimization of the use of utilities like water. So we can use the aforementioned algorithms to optimize the use of energy and utilities and reduce their consumption. And on top of that, kind of go hand in hand, by focusing on quality, we can reduce the amount of scrap by increasing the quality of the product, making sure that what comes out is up to standards. We can reduce the amount that gets scrapped. We can reduce the amount that gets reworked, which of course consumes more energy and time, and they kind of go hand in hand. And by doing that, we would obviously reduce the amount of energy we use, and consequently the amount of resources that's being used, as well as the depending on the energy, the emissions that are being caused.
Right. So that serves our environmental impact.
Correct.
So what are the key skills and competencies that will be required of the workforce in context of Industry 4.0? And also, how can organizations ensure that their employees are equipped with these skills?
Sure. That's a really good question. The kind of easiest direction that I can go with that is to say that being in the front lines and talking to clients directly, to manufacturers and in factories themselves, we see a shift towards requiring towards factories needing personnel in the field of data science, right? So a lot of the factories and manufacturers are getting enlightened or to the fact that they can get data from they can get the value from the data that they have and might be actually collecting for years, some of them, but they don't know what to do with it. And that's where the data scientists come in. They look at it and see if they can spot trends and create some certain predictive analytics that we've mentioned so far. And that would be like an easy shot, something that I can that seems too obvious. But I think the even more important thing, the skill that I would like to see in the market is a growth mindset. Because I guess if I could call it that, a skill, because a lot of the challenges that we encounter is that we're talking to industries that have existed for decades, centuries even, and they're really good at what they do, and they're really confident, and they don't particularly want to change simply because they've done certain things for a very long time and they've reached a certain level of excellence in doing that. So any change is a little bit scary. Obviously, it's also costly, or rather, making a mistake is costly, which there's a little bit of a fear. So there's a certain level of closed-mindedness to any kind of change or kind of a resistance to it. So I think in the world that we're facing right now, where we'll have more and more technologies, some of which will not require such heavy or so much, how should I put this? Will not require huge amounts of knowledge in data science, or rather there are technologies out there that are democratizing using and getting the value out of the data by providing certain software that's much easier to use and has prepackaged algorithms and such. It's just so you kind of check the box in terms of data science knowledge, right, regardless of what your background is. Mm-hmm. But what's important is that you have to have a growth mindset to onboard such technologies and to experiment with them in order to actually get value out of it. So I would say that will be the most important thing in a world that's changing. So sensors are getting cheaper. There's new software that's getting easier to use. It's getting cheaper and easier to integrate. And it will only get better. People or companies that want to actually compete and remain relevant on the market are going to have a certain level of growth mindset to onboard, launch, and get value out of these things.
Right. So are there any other sound bites you'd like to share with our audience?
Sound bites. Well, I guess if I can leave, sorry, if I can leave your audience with anything, it would be that Industry 4.0 is here to stay, right? This technology is here to stay, and it's not only to stay, it's actually here and it's going to evolve even further. So if you are a manufacturer and you are not onboarding, you're not utilizing in any way artificial intelligence right now, it's only a matter of time until you have integrated that. And not necessarily only in manufacturing, that's just what I work in, but likewise in your logistics or what have you, in inventory management and so on. It's only a matter of time when you start doing that. And it's probably better to be done sooner rather than later, so that you may actually take the advantage of and maybe use that as a gust of wind to propel yourself ahead of the competition rather than staying behind.
Right, that's amazing. Well, thank you so much, Philip, for sharing your valuable insights with us. For more content, subscribe to Engati and tap the bell icon to access to exclusive content from thought leaders from around the globe. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you with the new experts soon.
Thanks for having me.